Hey, all, Brad here with another video. On the bench today, I've got a Defender board set. A customer of mine, Jerry, sent in. He sent in the main boards. Soundboard is the old rectangular style. Sent in a volume pot with a bracket, and he was looking for a plate, mounting plate for this, and I had a couple spares, so I offered one up. And he was also looking for an original linear power supply, and I do have some donors here, some old ones, so I stripped one down and went through and did a full rebuild restore on it and have everything on the bench running real good. So I'll go over everything. I'll start with the bench cam, kind of explain what we did, and then we'll do a little gameplay and get the video wrapped up. So let me switch over to the bench cam. There we go. So here is the linear power supply we rebuilt. I didn't keep all the parts from this one because it was usually I return the customer parts, but since I was providing this one, I just got rid of all the old capacitors and all the components on here. So you can see I've got the precision 10 turn pot to adjust the 5 volts. Both of the regulators, the 5 volt and the 12 volt, are socketed now. All the capacitors are new. We've got the bright green LEDs. Actually, if you want, I'll just hit that real quick. You can see. They're pretty bright. We've got the big 4700 microfarad cap. Actually, I got a little pointer here we can use. There's the 4700 microfarad cap, 18,000 microfarad cap for the 5 volts. We've got the 12 volt bridge rectifier here, BR2, and BR1 is the 5 volt bridge rectifier. And I put these custom heat sinks on here, which really help. This is a common failure point on these old games. The new bridge rectifier I use is rated at 1,000 volts and a higher current than the original, but it's the exact same package. We do have a new uh, bridge rectifier back here for the minus 5 volts. All the filter caps on the 5 volt, the minus 5 is new. I pull all the fuses and I clean all of the ends of them real good and the glass actually, and then I recrimp all of the holders so we get a lot of friction. It takes a lot of force to get them in now. All the Molex headers are new here with the square pins. And then this is the 15 pin where the output goes. So on these real quick, just to show you here. So the last, I believe 4 pins on the gray wire, the 5 volt. And then you've got 5 pins in the center that are the ground. And then you've got an unregulated 12, regulated 12, and the orange is minus 5 volts on that. So that's the power supply. Turned out real nice. Here is all of the old parts here that I returned. To the customers, including the volume pot was really a mess on here. Someone had changed it, and uh, the knob turned super easy. So I did replace that. I'll come over here and show you. So here's the new volume pot. I made a whole new harness up for it as well, and it comes over to the soundboard, and it's got the heat shrink tubing I use on it. I go a little crazy sometimes with that sort of stuff. And I did put a nice aluminum knob to adjust the volume. Here's the rectangular soundboard. Got all new electrolytics on it. New bridge rectifier right here. Again, same thing on the other one with the fuses. I clean the fuses and recrimp the holders for them. We've got all the Molex headers new with square pins. On this one too, back on a pinball board, it had a real bad hum that I did a few videos ago. Came up with a fix for that where I changed the ratio on the amplifier here from like 200 to 1 to much lower value, or 100 to 1 to like 60 to 1 by changing this 220 ohm down to 130 ohm. And then on the back of the amplifier, I also add a zero point 0.1 microfarad filter cap and then a 1,000 ohm resistor to ground. And boy, this Defender boards, they really sound good after doing all that. So we'll come back. Here's the ROM board, and I do pull all of the EPROMs. I clean and straighten the legs, put some deoxit on them. We've got a new filter cap here for the 5 volts coming in, new Molex headers, and then of course new ribbon cable, all 3M parts, new connector and everything. I crimp on my 3M Scotch Flex press. I/O board, new ribbon, new filter cap, 2 new 10-pin Molex headers with the square pins, cleaned up, wiped down, shined with the little silicone cloth. Over here on the MPU, Molex headers are new, all new filter caps. This board actually had a tantalum, a 22 microfarad for the soft start, so I did not have to change that. But there is a diode here I've talked about before. Original value was 3.9 volts. I put in a 4.7, and again, this is for um, voltage protection. So if the voltage drops too low when you shut the power off, it pulls the CPU and the rest of the circuit into reset. And 3.9 volts is just too low. CMOS and things get corrupted when that happens. So this basically puts the board into shutdown at a higher voltage. It won't let it get as low. Um, Pulled the old AA battery holder off that was in this area. Had a little bit of corrosion, not terrible. Someone had changed it, and I did put in a holder for this CR2450 and a nice new battery. And then also on this, when I went through it, someone had socketed and changed out the CMOS RAM here, the 5101, and the one that they used is, let me show you here. This is it here, Philips, I believe. PCD 5101. This is a brand new chip. However, on these Williams boards, I think it's a speed issue. They'll run and save data, but when you do the self-test, they fail. So these Toshiba parts, the TC5501s, I've gotten a bunch of these. I bought over the years from some surplus outputs and outlets, and they work great. So I did put a new one in here, pulled the CPU out, the 6809E, and both of the bipolar decoders, straighten and clean the legs on those. I did pull the RAM and clean a bunch of these up, got everything in. So she's running real good now. We'll go ahead and boot it up and do a little gameplay and see how things look. Okay. So here, again, on the bench, I have a little remote control for one of these little outlets that the transformer's plugged into. So I'll hit power on, and we get the nice carpet rug pattern there. And I do have my little PlayStation controller that's configured for Defender on the bench right now. And you can see there she boots right into track mode. This board did have an issue with the colors being off. It's common. There's 7400 logic gate on here for the blanking circuit, and there's supposed to be two legs that are jumper together, and from the factory they were not. So this board had some issues with the colors since day one. I found probably 4 or 5 MPUs with that same issue. So let me go ahead and coin it up. You know what? Let's do diagnostics first, because this Defender is unique where once you're into the gameplay, you can't get into the diagnostic until the game is complete, so we'd have to play all credits out. So let me drop in. So all ROM's okay. And then it'll go through a RAM test. Jumper through that. All the RAM is good. CMOS is good. And again, this was the old Philips 5101 here would fail. So with that Toshiba part, the TC5501 CMOS RAM, she runs real good. Call it RAM test. We don't need to go through that. We'll test some of the audio here. Defender's unique. It'll go through all 31 test sounds. So 0 through 31 is 32. And then here's the switch test. And again, up, down. We've got fire, thrust, smart bomb, hyperspace, and reverse. And then there's player 1 start and left coin. And then this will generate some monitor test patterns, which were not, it's working great. So I'll advance, and then let's see here, getting out of this sometime. So back to game mode, into attract. I'm going to coin it up. Show a couple on there. PlayStation controller on the bench is great for testing, but it's really not great for gameplay. I'm not great at the game to begin with, but it's much easier with the real control panel on here. I used to keep a Defender control panel on the bench. I built a little frame out of 2x4s to drop it in, and anyway, you can see she's playing great. So this board did get probably at least 48. I had a wedding yesterday ago too, so it's been running on the bench for at least 48 hours. So again, the customer Jerry wanted the plate, so I'm gonna try to find a box I have big enough and get enough padding and things in there to ship the boards on the plate. I'm not sure if I'm going to ship the power supply in that box, depending on the box I find, or I might have to ship the power supply separately. So anyway, I'm going to wrap this one up. Next up, I think I've got a joust coming up for repair in the queue right now. So look forward to that one, and we'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching.